Right then, welcome to my review of Ghost Stories. What I will be doing is talking non-spoilers, then I will warn you and go into a spoiler-filled review. That will be a new format here on the channel moving forwards. I've had a lot of feedback and that is essentially what we'll be doing moving forward. So what is Ghost Stories? Well, it is directed by Andy Nyman and he is also the lead in the film. It also features Martin Freeman, Alex Lawther, Paul Whitehouse and Darren Brown, amongst others. This is, as far as I'm aware, an adaptation from a play, and it is based around the professor, Philip Goodman, who is played by Andy Nyman. He is a psychologist and a skeptic who is essentially debunking ghost stories. He then comes across 3 cases which he cannot, or potentially cannot, disprove. Now, each case is different, and it obviously moves across the notion of what you can't rationalize is obviously moving into the supernatural. Now, first things first, in terms of a non-spoiler review, is it a good movie and should you go and see it? Well, yes, you should if you like indie-based movies. They're a little bit different and are 100% not blockbuster material. And what I mean by that is if you're going into it expecting a Quiet Place styled movie with that kind of production and that kind of framing and that kind of scene setting, it's not going to happen. This is very much an indie-based movie. It is chock full of producers and production companies. You really are not going to be having a good time if you go in with quite high expectations of a blockbuster style movie. It's not to say that it's not blockbuster quality. It is a very, very good movie. However, I can only recommend it if you want to support indie movies and you want to see something a little bit different on the big screen. I did not begrudge paying for this movie at all, which to me says quite a lot, especially in this movie-going climate that we're in at the moment. Is it scary? Yes, it is. There are potentially a little bit too many jump scares in there, but overall it is a somewhat disturbing film and it is unnerving in a way. So in terms of what it set out to do, it did achieve it. And in terms of its framing, its production values, and its technical aspects, it's very, very, very good. It has some great cinematography behind it. Some of the effects are a little bit wonky here and there, and there is one effect, which I'll get to in the spoiler territory, which is very, very questionable, and the person that did it really should actually be quite disappointed with themselves. But on a whole, I can really recommend it. The story is engaging. It flows quite nicely. It could have been a little bit tighter, but when you get towards the end of the film, it does wrap up and tie itself together in a nice bow. But you are left feeling like it should have been a little bit tighter. Not in terms of its editing or anything along those lines, just a little bit in terms of its writing, in my opinion. The performances from Andy Nyman as Professor Goodman, absolutely stellar. Really, really, really good. Martin Freeman can do no wrong, and he has an absolute blast in this film, and you really know that he's having fun, and it's fantastic to see. Alex Lawther, you guys would know him from the Netflix TV series End of the Fucking World. He is absolutely incredible in this film. He really is a standout, and I cannot wait to see what this man does next. Paul Whitehouse, good. Absolutely fine. No issues with him at all. So, that out of the way, there's not really that much to cover in terms of its non-spoilers. Let's get into the spoiler territory and let's discuss the kind of meat and bones of this film. So, Professor Goodman is a psychologist and a skeptic who is allegedly running a TV show that debunks all of these myths and legends and ghost stories and all of these people contacting the supernatural. Things go awry when someone he used to idolize that was apparently dead gets in contact with him and says, it's all true, I believe it. Here are 3 cases I couldn't solve. Go and try and solve them and tell me that the supernatural is not real. Which then takes us to essentially each and every single one of our supporting cast members. So Martin Freeman, he is at the centre of one of these cases. Alex Lawther is at the centre of one of these cases. And the same with Paul Whitehouse. So these are the ghost stories that the film is pivoted around. And they are done in a really, really good way. They don't explain too much though, and one of my bugbears with this film is that although you are supposed to be seeing Professor Goodman investigate and try and solve these cases, you don't actually see any of this investigation, which does disengage you a little bit from the story and potentially leave it feeling a little bit less tight as a movie as a result. But it does move itself nicely, and essentially we do a 180 towards the end of the movie, and we realise that Professor Goodman, Andy Nyman's character, is actually, spoiler alert, in a coma. So what he's seeing here is a coma-induced hallucination or a dream, and the character attempted to commit suicide based on a deep psychological issue he has endured from a child. Now, what we see throughout this movie is a looming figure in the background and two figures here and there. And what this is setting up the reveal towards the end of the film. And what we're seeing is basically a situation play out from Professor Goodman's childhood. He experienced something truly traumatic which he blames himself for. A member of the same school that he used to go to was forced into a sewerage system by two bullies, and he was there. He wasn't part of it, but he was there, and he blames himself because the tragic incident resulted in this poor person's death, and this led to essentially his attempted suicide. Now, what we learn from this is that Martin Freeman, ultimately at the end of the movie, is a consultant, Alex Lawther is a doctor, and Paul Whitehouse is a cleaner. And what you're seeing pieced together in Professor Goodman's mind is snippets of what these people are discussing here and there, and he's basically built this picture in his unconscious state in the coma. It's a really, really smart movie. You are somewhat scared during the movie. It does focus quite heavily on jump scares, but there are some moments which are truly somewhat disturbing. But as it ties together towards the end, we see some of the most horrendous prosthetic work I've seen in quite a long time. The figure that you see looming around is obviously the boy that suffered the tragic incident in the sewage system, and he's decayed and he's dead, and you can see his teeth rotting through. He's got a hood up, and you can see part of his face there. Absolutely fantastic. Looks so good. He takes his hood down. It looks atrocious. It's absolutely horrendous. And the visual effects and the special effects throughout the movie were great up until that point. Up until that point, that's where it all kind of falls apart, and it's really, really not that good, and it's very, very disengaging from the movie. And it's a true shame, because the whole movie's great, but then you come to that end point and you are disengaged from it, and you go, that's not the best. The performances from everyone, like I said in the non-spoiler part of this review, are exceptional. Everyone's having a really good time. Martin Freeman, you can see he's having an absolute blast with this movie, and it's so good to see. Alex Lawther is incredible, and I mean, as a result of this, I'm going to be watching the TV series that he's in, because his performance was absolute standout. Truly a believable performance of a man on the edge, losing his mind. Is it a good film, and is it worth watching? It is. It's only worth watching, though, if you don't go into it with the expectations of the modern theatre tropes and what you expect to see going on. That's all I can say. I can't wholeheartedly recommend it. I have to recommend it with that caveat, because you come here for an honest review, and that is what you get. I did not begrudge paying for it, and to me, that is one of the signs of a good movie. I left feeling like I did not waste my time at all, and it was ultimately a good experience. The way the film is set up and shot is beautiful. From a technical standpoint, it is absolutely fantastic. So guys, that out of the way, if you have seen Ghost Stories, please do leave all your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of the ending. Let me know what you thought of the prosthetics. Please do leave all your thoughts down below. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Stick around for more reviews. As always, I've been Mr. H. Until next time, I will catch you in the comment section.